During my son's recital, my mom and dad claimed my child is nothing compared to my favorite brother's kids, telling me not to dream things will work out for my difficult boy. Everyone was shocked, so I executed my payback. Be me, 38-year-old Daniel, single dad for the last 4 years since my wife Lisa died. She died giving birth to our son Tyler. It's been a complete roller coaster, but we've managed somehow. Always tried to make things special for Tyler, because, well, he didn't ask for any of this shit. My family, they've been supportive in their own way, which mostly means criticizing my parenting while asking for loans. Loans they never fucking repay. Last weekend was Tyler's preschool graduation. My son had been talking about being a real big kid now for weeks. My younger brother Brandon is 33 and has twin girls, same age as Tyler. He suggested we do a joint family dinner to celebrate all the kids. Let's split the planning, he said. Guess who did all the actual work? Spent all day cleaning my place, decorating with those cheesy graduation cutouts, cooking Lisa's famous chicken parmesan recipe that Tyler loves. Even made that complicated tiramisu cake Lisa used to make for special occasions. My parents always said it was unnecessarily fancy, but Tyler loves it because he has pictures of his mom making it. Brandon showed up 50 minutes late with my parents. Brought absolutely nothing. Immediately started complaining about the parking on my street. The twins ran in wearing matching outfits. Probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Tyler was so excited to see his cousins. He was practically vibrating with excitement. Dinner actually went okay at first. Tyler proudly showed everyone the little certificate they got at graduation. The twins talked over him about their ballet recital, but he didn't seem to mind. Then came time for the gifts. My parents went first for Tyler. They brought an educational tablet. Looked like it had been sitting in a clearance bin since 2018. When I tried to turn it on, the battery was dead, and the charger was missing. My dad just shrugged and said, well, he can learn to fix it. Good for building character. Then they gave the twins their presents. Universal Studios tickets and these fancy charm bracelets, with actual birthstones. The contrast was so obvious even Tyler noticed, his smile fading a little as the twins screamed with excitement. My friend Jessica, who's basically family at this point, was the only one who gave Tyler something he actually wanted. This microscope kit he'd been pointing out in catalogs for months. His face lit up when he opened it. He immediately asked if we could set it up that night. Isn't that a bit advanced for him? My mom asked, looking concerned. The twins are taking violin already. Maybe something more artistic would be better for Tyler. I bit my tongue. I've gotten good at that over the years, but something was bugging me. Just 3 weeks ago, my parents had come over, asking to borrow $3,500 for emergency home repairs. They gave me some story about the roof leaking, and I wrote them a check like I always do. But now they're buying Universal tickets and jewelry. Those tickets alone had to be over $1,200 for the package they described. During dinner, I casually asked, so how'd you manage to swing the Universal trip? I thought things were tight with the roof repairs and all. Mom nearly choked on her wine but recovered quickly. Oh, we found this special grandparent package deal online. Very reasonable, and your father's bonus came through early. I blinked. Bonus? He's retired. Dad didn't even flinch. Doesn't mean I don't have income, he grunted. Not that it's any of your business. Then he suddenly turned to Brandon. Launched into a whole story about his golf tournament win. I let it go in the moment because Tyler was sitting next to me, and I wasn't about to start something in front of him. But it didn't stop there. Mom leaned over a few minutes later, still wearing that plastic smile. Honestly, Daniel, maybe if you didn't overthink everything all the time, you'd be able to treat your son to nice things too. You always make everything so transactional. Exactly, Dad chimed in, cutting his steak with more force than necessary. Always keeping tabs, always acting like you're the only one struggling. Maybe if you spent less time playing victim and more time focusing on family, you wouldn't be so bitter all the time. I clenched my jaw. I just asked a question. After dinner, the kids went to play in Tyler's room, while the adults had coffee. I excused myself to use the bathroom, and on my way back, I passed by the kitchen, where my parents and Brandon were talking in low voices. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard my name and stopped. Just ask your brother to pay for the girls' summer science camp, my dad was saying. He'll do it if you say the girls really need it for their development. My mom's voice added, he's been a cash cow since Lisa died. All that guilt makes him easy to milk. His kid is too much like him anyway. Brandon replied, with that smug laugh I've always hated. Smart, but no spark. The money's better spent on the twins. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. 4 years of loans and temporary help flashed through my mind. The constant comparisons between Tyler and the twins, the subtle digs about how I was raising him wrong, the way they'd blamed me for Lisa's death, with comments like, if you'd taken her to a better hospital, or she was always working too hard taking care of you. I wanted to burst in and confront them, but Tyler's face flashed in my mind. He was having a good night. He loved his cousins despite everything. So I backtracked, made my footsteps louder on the return, and walked into the living room with a fake smile plastered on my face. After everyone left, I tucked Tyler into bed. He clutched the instruction manual for his new microscope to his chest, like a teddy bear. After he fell asleep, I sat in the dark living room, thinking about what I'd heard. About all the times I'd written checks because family helps family. About the business I'd helped Brandon start, with my inheritance from Lisa's life insurance, the one that was supposedly struggling. Despite the new BMW in his driveway, something inside me hardened. Tyler deserved better. I deserved better. Lisa would be furious if she knew how they'd been treating our son. I texted Jessica, "Need to talk, it's about my family." Her response came immediately. "Your place, 10:30 a.m., I've been waiting for you to figure it out." For the first time in 4 years, I felt angry. Jessica showed up at 10:30 a.m. sharp with coffee and bagels. She's always been punctual. One of the reasons she's crushed it in her marketing career, while I've been stuck in the same engineering firm for years. We've been friends since college, when she and Lisa were roommates. After Lisa died, Jessica stepped up in ways I never expected, becoming Tyler's unofficial aunt and my sanity check. "So you finally heard them talking shit?" she said, not even bothering with small talk, as she fired up her laptop at my kitchen table. "You knew?" I asked, feeling like an idiot. "I've been watching them take advantage of you for years," she sighed, typing rapidly. Lisa would have shut this down immediately. She never trusted Brandon. That stung because it was true. Lisa had always kept my family at arm's length, especially after we got married. I chalked it up to normal in-law tension, but maybe she'd seen something I was blind to. "How bad is it?" I asked. "Let's find out." Jessica pulled up a spreadsheet. "I've been keeping track of every time you mentioned loaning them money. Just the amounts you've told me about." She turned the screen toward me. The total at the bottom made my stomach drop. $84,650 over 4 years. "There's more," Jessica said, pulling up another window. "Remember when you helped Brandon start that construction company?" How could I forget? I'd put in $275,000 of Lisa's life insurance money as startup capital. Brandon had convinced me it was a solid investment, that I'd be a silent partner while he handled operations. The business, officially called Twin Brothers Construction, was supposed to be Tyler's inheritance someday. My 80% ownership on paper meant security for my son's future. "The business is failing, right?" I asked. That's what Brandon kept telling me. Why they couldn't pay dividends? Why he sometimes needed extra cash to keep things afloat. Despite being the operational partner, Jessica's expression turned grim. "That's what he wants you to think." She spent the next hour showing me what she'd found. Through some searches that probably skirted the edge of legality. Banking records, tax filings, property purchases. Contrary to Brandon's sob stories, Twin Brothers Construction had been profitable for the past 2 years. Very profitable. But the accounting had been manipulated to show losses on paper, while funneling money to my brother and parents through inflated consultant fees and phony expenses. The company credit card statements were the final straw. Countless charges for restaurants, clothing stores, and yes, a $6,800 charge to Universal Vacations. Just 4 days after my parents borrowed money for roof repairs. "They're using the company as their personal piggy bank," Jessica explained. "Meanwhile, you're the majority owner on paper, which means you're legally responsible," I finished. The implications hitting me like a truck. "If there's an audit or lawsuit, you'd be on the hook," she confirmed. "And there's more. The quarterly tax payments have been irregular. If the IRS investigates?" My head was spinning. I'd trusted my brother with everything, and he'd been robbing me blind. While I struggled to give Tyler a decent life, just then Tyler wandered into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He'd slept in after the excitement of the graduation party. "Morning, buddy," I said quickly, switching screens. "Want some breakfast?" As I made him scrambled eggs, he chatted happily about the party, completely unaware of my internal meltdown. Then he said something that stopped me cold. "Dad, why didn't you want to go to Universal with us?" I nearly dropped the spatula. "What do you mean, bud?" Tyler looked confused at my reaction. "Uncle Brandon said the company bought Universal tickets for everyone, but you didn't want to go because you're too busy." The audacity. They were using my company to buy themselves vacations, and telling my son I didn't want to include him. "When did Uncle Brandon tell you this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "When I went to get water last night, he was showing Grandma pictures of the Universal Hotel on his phone." Tyler poked at his eggs. "It's okay if you don't want to go. I know you have to work a lot." My heart shattered. This innocent kid thought I was choosing work over making memories with him, all because my family was spinning lies to cover their theft. After breakfast, we spent the morning building the microscope. Tyler was methodical, reading each step aloud, his little face serious with concentration. So much like Lisa, it hurt. As we worked, I made a decision. This ended now. I called Jessica again. "I need a lawyer," I said without preamble. "A shark. I've got just the person," she replied, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "Rebecca Torres. She specializes in business fraud and family financial disputes. She's ruthless. Get me an appointment. And I need a forensic accountant. Already on it. My firm uses a guy named Rodriguez who's former IRS. He can start Tuesday." I took a deep breath. This could get ugly. They're going to hate me. They already take advantage of you. The only difference is now you'll stop letting them. That afternoon, while Tyler was still napping, I dug through my home office for every financial record I could find, related to Twin Brothers construction, startup documents, tax returns. The operating agreement Brandon had assured me was standard. Email exchanges where he explained why the business was struggling, despite the new equipment he kept buying, looking at it all with fresh eyes. The red flags were so obvious, I felt like an idiot for missing them. The standard agreement gave Brandon authority to approve expenses under $12,000 without my sign-off. The struggling business somehow always had cash for new trucks and equipment upgrades. The convenient explanation that construction was seasonal. Whenever I asked about finances, my phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. "Hey bro, the twins got into this amazing summer science program. It would really give them an edge. I'd cover it, but things are tight with the business investments. Any chance you could help out? $9,200 for both girls. They'd really appreciate their uncle stepping up." In the past, I'd have said yes immediately, desperate for their approval, wanting the twins to like me, hoping Tyler would benefit from the connection to his cousins. Now I saw it for what it was. Another manipulation, another withdrawal from the bank of succor. I texted back, "Let me think about it. Things are a bit tight right now." His response was immediate. "No problem, family always comes first." The girls were just really hoping to go. They even mentioned how much they wanted to tell Tyler about it, since he likes science, using my son as leverage. Classy. I put the phone down without responding, and went to check on Tyler. He was still asleep, clutching the stuffed rocket ship Jessica had given him for his birthday. His room was modest compared to the lavish setups I'd seen at Brandon's house for the twins. No expensive furniture or mountains of toys, just books, space posters, and the few quality things I could afford. After keeping us housed and fed, he deserved so much better. Not just materially, but a family that valued him. People who saw how special he was, instead of comparing him to his cousins. "I'm going to fix this," I whispered to him, brushing hair from his forehead. "I promise." My phone buzzed again. Jessica had sent an email with the lawyer's information and an appointment for Tuesday morning. The subject line read, "Time to play hardball." For the first time since overhearing that conversation in my kitchen, I felt a sense of control returning. They'd taken advantage of my grief, my guilt, my desire to keep family close for Tyler's sake. They had stolen from my son's future, while pretending to care about him. That ended now. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for Tyler. And when it came to my son, I wasn't going to pull any punches. Rebecca Torres was exactly what I'd expected. When Jessica called her a shark, "Mr. Thompson," she greeted me, not bothering to stand from behind her imposing glass desk. "Jessica speaks highly of you." Rebecca was exactly what I'd pictured. When Jessica described her as a shark, impeccable suit, sharp bob haircut, and eyes that seemed to calculate my net worth. Within seconds of my arrival, "Thank you for seeing me on short notice." Jessica mentioned family business fraud. Those are my 3 favorite words. Her smile was brief but genuine. "Tell me everything." For the next hour, I laid out the whole situation. I showed her the documents I'd brought along, with screenshots of text messages requesting money over the years. Rebecca took notes on a legal pad, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Her expression gave nothing away, but her increasingly rapid note-taking told me she was finding plenty to work with. "Have you noticed any irregularities with your personal taxes?" she asked. "Unexpected forms, deductions you didn't recognize? Letters from the IRS? I don't think so. I use a tax service, but nothing seemed off." She nodded, making another note. "We'll want to verify that. If they've been manipulating the business finances, they may have taken liberties with your personal returns as well." That possibility hadn't even occurred to me. The thought of Brandon potentially messing with my taxes made my stomach clench. "How bad is this legally speaking?" I asked. Rebecca set down her pen. "Based on what you've shown me, we're looking at fraud, embezzlement, and tax evasion. This could mean jail time." "Jesus," I whispered. "You need to understand something," she continued, leaning forward. "If we pursue this, it will get ugly. Family disputes always do. They will claim you knew everything, that you approved it all. They'll say you're the one trying to defraud them. They'll paint you as the villain. I'm prepared for that. I thought about Tyler's face when he thought I'd excluded him. From a family trip, about the years of subtle digs and comparisons. About Lisa who would have gone nuclear. If she'd known how they were treating our son. I'm done being their ATM, I said firmly. I'm done with the manipulation. My priority is protecting what's left of my son's inheritance. Rebecca's expression softened slightly. Then here's what we do next. She outlined a plan. First, a forensic accountant would go through every business record with a fine-tooth comb. We'd subpoena bank records, credit card statements, tax filings. Her team would document every instance of financial misconduct, building an airtight case before confronting Brandon or my parents. What should I do in the meantime? I asked. Brandon keeps texting about that summer program money. Stall him, she advised. Don't confront him yet. Don't give any indication that something's changed. We need them comfortable and careless. While we build our case, I left her office with a strange mix of dread and relief. There was no going back now. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was actually protecting Tyler, instead of just treading water. The next 2 weeks were surreal. On the surface, everything continued as normal. I went to work, took care of Tyler, and replied vaguely to Brandon's increasingly pushy texts about the science camp money. Meanwhile, Rebecca's team was uncovering financial horror stories. That made my initial discoveries look like a parking ticket. The forensic accountant found over $475,000 diverted from the business. Company credit cards for vacations, a boat in Brandon's name, fake consulting fees to my parents. Each revelation felt like another betrayal, another confirmation that I'd been played for a fool, while struggling to give Tyler a stable life. But the worst discovery came during week 3. We found something concerning, Rebecca said during our call, her normally composed voice tight with controlled anger. Tax returns filed under your social security number, claiming income from twin brothers' construction that you never received. What does that mean? I asked, already dreading the answer. It means someone filed tax returns listing distributions to you as a majority owner, money you never actually got, phantom payments on paper only. The real money went elsewhere, but the tax liability is in your name. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Are you saying I owe taxes on money they stole from me? Potentially, yes. We're still determining the exact amount, but initial estimates suggest around $105,000 in tax liability. I had to sit down. I don't have that kind of money. Not after everything they've already taken. I understand. The good news is, this significantly strengthens our case. Tax fraud crosses a line from civil to potential criminal liability. It also gives us leverage in settlement negotiations. Settlement? I echoed. I don't want to settle. I want what's mine. I want what's Tyler's. And a strong settlement position helps us get that, she explained patiently. But you need to be prepared for the possibility that some of the money is simply gone. Spent. They may not have liquid assets to repay everything they've taken. That night after Tyler was asleep, I sat on my back porch trying to process everything. The magnitude of the betrayal was still sinking in. It wasn't just the money. It was the calculated nature of it all. The way they'd systematically exploited my grief and trust. While pretending to care about Tyler, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother, thinking of having a family dinner this weekend. Tyler and the twins haven't had a play date in weeks. The girls miss their cousin. The casual audacity of it made me want to throw my phone across the yard. They were stealing from my son's future, while using him as a pawn in their manipulation, using his loneliness and desire for family connection against me. The next morning, Rebecca called. They found it, signed corporate resolutions authorizing bonuses for Brandon, and padded consulting contracts for your parents. All forged. Sloppy too. The handwriting didn't even come close to yours. That somehow made it worse. Like they didn't think I'd ever notice, or worse, that I'd never do anything about it. Rebecca laid out the options. Go nuclear. Civil suits, court battles, possible criminal charges. Offer a settlement. Put everything on the table. Show the evidence and give them one chance to fix it. Before things got ugly. Involve the DA. Go after them for fraud and tax evasion. Real jail time. I didn't have an answer right away. Part of me still couldn't picture my parents or Brandon behind bars. But another part of me, the part that remembered every time they made me feel like a wallet with legs, wanted them to feel it, to face what they'd done. In the end, I told Rebecca the truth. I wasn't chasing revenge. I wanted security for Tyler. I wanted them to admit it, not just legally, personally to my face. She nodded and recommended starting with the settlement. If they refused, then we'd escalate. 4 months of digging revealed they'd stolen nearly $770,000. Time for a reckoning. Rebecca had everything ready. They'd show up tomorrow thinking it was a regular meeting. Instead, they'd walk into a reckoning Full restitution. Brandon out. Full control transferred to me. Signed confessions. On the drive home, I wondered if it was too much. If Tyler would someday hate me for breaking the family apart. But deep down, I knew they broke it a long time ago. I was just finally picking up the pieces. When I got home, the babysitter reported that Tyler had already had dinner and was getting ready for bed. I found him in his pajamas, carefully organizing his mineral collection on his bedroom floor. "Hey, buddy," I said, sitting on his bed. "What are you working on?" "I'm organizing by type," he explained seriously. "Igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic, but I think this one might be a fossil." He held up what looked like an ordinary pebble. "Hey, can I ask you something? Do you like spending time with Grandma and Grandpa and Uncle Brandon?" Tyler considered this with the seriousness only a child can bring to an adult question. "Sometimes, but they always say I talk too much about space and rocks and stuff. And they make me share all my toys with the twins. But the twins don't have to share their special toys with me." My heart clenched. "Do they say other things that make you feel bad?" He shrugged, suddenly interested in reorganizing his minerals. "Grandma says I'm too skinny and need to eat more. Grandpa says I should play sports instead of reading so much. Uncle Brandon says I need to toughen up." Each comment was like a knife. They weren't just stealing from him financially. They were chipping away at his self-esteem. "You know those things aren't true, right? There's nothing wrong with being interested in science and books. And you're perfect exactly how you are." "That's what Mom would say," he replied matter-of-factly. "Aunt Jessica told me." I smiled, throat tight. "Your mom would definitely say that, and she'd be right." That night, my resolve hardened. This wasn't just about money. It was about protecting Tyler from the same subtle undermining I'd experienced my entire life. The constant comparisons, the backhanded compliments, the message that I was somehow never quite good enough. I'd be damned if I let them do the same to my son. The next morning, I dropped Tyler at summer camp with an extra tight hug before heading downtown to Rebecca's office. I'd barely slept, cycling between righteous anger and stomach-turning anxiety. My phone had buzzed repeatedly with texts from Brandon and my father, both confirming the business meeting Rebecca had arranged, under the pretense of discussing year-end tax planning. When I arrived, Rebecca's assistant showed me to a small meeting room, adjacent to the main conference room. "We'll have you wait here until they've all arrived," she explained. "Ms. Torres thinks it's best if you enter after she's introduced herself," and explained the purpose of the meeting. Through the wall, I could hear muffled voices. As my family arrived one by one, my father's booming tone, my mother's high-pitched laugh, Brandon's voice always slightly louder than necessary. They sounded relaxed, unsuspecting. After what felt like hours, Rebecca opened the connecting door. "They're all here, are you ready?" I nodded, straightening my tie. I'd dressed carefully that morning in my best suit, the one I'd worn to Tyler's christening, a reminder of why I was doing this. Walking into that conference room was one of the hardest things I've ever done. 3 heads turned toward me, expressions shifting from confusion to wariness. As they took in my serious expression and Rebecca's professional demeanor, "What's going on?" my father demanded. "Who is this woman?" "I'm Rebecca Torres, legal counsel for your son," she replied smoothly. "Thank you all for coming today. We have some serious matters to discuss regarding Twin Brothers construction." "Legal counsel," Brandon laughed, though his eyes darted nervously between Rebecca and me. "What the hell, bro? If you had concerns about the business, why not just talk to me directly?" I remained silent, letting Rebecca take the lead as planned. "We've been digging into your finances for 4 months," she said, opening a folder. "What we found is systematic fraud and tax evasion." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. My father's face flushed dark red. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Brandon's cocky smile vanished. "That's ridiculous," my father sputtered. "This is a family business. We've done nothing wrong." Rebecca ignored him, sliding copies of the summary document across the table. "This outlines our findings. I suggest you review it carefully before making any further statements." For several minutes, the only sound was the shuffling of papers, and my mother's increasingly distressed breathing. I watched their faces as they absorbed the evidence, the precise documentation of their theft, laid out in black and white. Brandon was the first to recover, his expression hardening. "This is I've worked so hard building this business. While you've been a silent partner at best, you have no idea what it takes to run a construction company. Is that why you needed $17,000 in emergency equipment repairs?" I asked quietly. "The same week you bought your new boat? Or why the company apparently needed to pay for your twins' private school tuition? As an educational business expense?" His face paled. "You're taking all this out of context." "The context is quite clear," Rebecca interjected. "You've diverted company funds for personal use, while falsely reporting business losses to the majority owner. You've created fraudulent tax documents. You forged Mr. Thompson's signature on corporate resolutions. Each of these actions constitutes a serious legal violation. My mother began to cry, her carefully applied makeup streaking. "We're family," she sobbed. "How could you do this to us?" The familiar guilt rose in my chest. The automatic response I'd been conditioned to feel whenever they were upset with me, but this time I pushed it down. "How could you do this to Tyler?" I countered. "That was his future you were stealing, his inheritance money that should have gone toward his education, his opportunities, all while you treated him like an afterthought." "We've always loved Tyler," my father insisted, his voice rising. "This isn't about him." "The Universal trip was about him," I replied. "The one you told him I didn't want to take him on, the one you paid for with company funds, right after borrowing $3,500 from me for emergency roof repairs." My father at least had the decency to look ashamed, but Brandon went on the offensive. "So you hired some shark lawyer to come after your own family? Over some accounting irregularities? Real nice, bro. What kind of person does that?" "The kind who's done being exploited," I answered, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "The kind who's finally standing up for himself and his son." Rebecca took control of the conversation again, outlining our demands in precise legal language, as she detailed the financial restitution required, the management changes, the signed admissions of wrongdoing. Their expressions shifted from shock to outrage. "This is extortion," my father growled. "We'll fight this." "You're welcome to," Rebecca replied calmly. "But I should make you aware that our next step would be to present evidence of tax fraud and document forgery to the district attorney. The potential penalties for those crimes include substantial fines and incarceration. You'd send your own family to jail." My mother's voice was horrified, her eyes boring into mine. For a moment I hesitated. The weight of their stares, the history between us, the childhood conditioning to put their needs first. It all pressed down on me. Then I thought of Tyler organizing his minerals by type. Tyler being told he needed to toughen up. Tyler thinking I'd excluded him from a family trip. "You had 4 years to treat me and Tyler with respect," I said finally. 4 years to be honest about the business. 4 years to be the family we needed. Instead of treating us like your personal ATM, you made your choices. Now I'm making mine." Brandon stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. "This is insane." "I'm not signing anything." "Dad, let's go," Rebecca said evenly. "Before you leave, you should know that we've already placed a lien on your personal property, including your home and the boat purchased with diverted company funds. We've also frozen the business accounts, pending resolution of this matter." He froze. "You can't do that." "We already have. Judge Williams signed the orders yesterday." Based on the evidence of ongoing fraud, the color drained from Brandon's face. As the reality of the situation finally hit him, "I have mortgage payments, car payments. The twins' tuition is due next week." My father, always the pragmatist, was the first to recognize the futility of further resistance. "What exactly do you want from us?" he asked, his voice subdued. Rebecca slid another document across the table. "This settlement agreement outlines the terms. Full financial restitution of $757,586 to be paid within 90 days. Immediate resignation of Brandon Thompson from all operational roles. Within Twin Brothers Construction, transfer of all business operations to Westfield Management Group, which will report directly to Mr. Thompson as majority owner, and sign statements acknowledging the misconduct." "That's impossible," Brandon protested. "I don't have that kind of money just sitting around." "The sale of your lake house and boat would cover approximately half the amount," Rebecca noted. "The rest could be structured as a payment plan, secured by your primary residence." My mother began to sob in earnest now. "We'll lose everything." "You should have thought of that before stealing from my son," I replied, rising from my chair. "You have 48 hours to accept these terms. After that, we proceed with criminal charges." As I walked toward the door, my father called after me. "This isn't what Lisa would have wanted. She wouldn't want you destroying her son's family." I stopped, anger surging through me. "Don't you dare speak for her. Lisa saw through all of you years before I did. She would have done this the first time you treated Tyler as less important than the twins, the first time you blamed me for her death, leaving them sitting there, surrounded by the evidence of their betrayal. Should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow, drained. There was no satisfaction in their shocked faces or desperate protests. Only the grim recognition that this confrontation was necessary but tragic. In the elevator down to the parking garage, my hands were shaking. My future was uncertain. The family I'd grown up with was effectively gone. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was truly honoring Lisa's memory, truly protecting our son, truly standing up for myself. 48 hours after the confrontation, Rebecca called to inform me that my family had accepted the settlement terms, not with grace or contrition, but they'd signed the papers nonetheless. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt a complicated mix of relief, guilt, and grief for what could have been. The family I'd wanted for Tyler, supportive grandparents, a fun uncle, cousins who treated him well, had never really existed. I'd been chasing a fantasy while ignoring reality. 2 days later, I received a text from my mother. "I hope you're happy now that you've destroyed this family. After everything we've done for you." Classic. Even now, she couldn't acknowledge what they'd done. In her mind, they were the victims. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The following weeks brought massive changes. Brandon was removed from Twin Brothers Construction, replaced by a management team from Westfield. Initial reviews of the business revealed it was actually in excellent shape, profitable with a solid reputation, and several major contracts in progress. My brother had been competent at running the operational side. He just diverted the profits to himself, instead of growing the company. The financial restitution came in pieces. Brandon sold the lake house and boat. My parents liquidated investments and took out a second mortgage. Every payment felt like another severed tie, another nail in the coffin of our family relationship. They complied with the legal requirements, but made their personal feelings clear. My father left a voicemail. "I never thought my own son would turn on his family like this. Your mother can barely get out of bed. I hope whatever you're getting is worth what you've done to us." I deleted it without responding. The old guilt tactics didn't work anymore. The only surprise came when the twins' private school called to verify that I would be continuing to pay their tuition. Apparently, Brandon had listed me as the responsible party, without my knowledge. Yet another unauthorized financial commitment made in my name. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," I told the administrator. "I've never agreed to pay the twins' tuition, nor will I be doing so in the future." That led to another angry text from Brandon. "Thanks for forcing my girls to change schools. Real nice uncle move there." I blocked his number after that. 4 months after the confrontation, life had begun to stabilize. Twin Brothers Construction was thriving under professional management. The first profit distributions had been deposited into a trust. For Tyler's education, the forensic accountant had untangled the tax mess, and while I'd had to pay some penalties, the worst of the financial damage had been mitigated. Then 3 weeks later, I received a thick envelope in the mail, with my father's handwriting on the outside. Inside was a collection of old photos. My childhood, Lisa and me in college. Our wedding, Tyler as a newborn. Photos I'd assumed were lost in the family rift. A brief note accompanied them. "These belong with you and Tyler. Whatever else has happened, he should know his history." It wasn't an apology. There was no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. No promise to do better. But it was something, a small recognition of Tyler's right to his own heritage, separate from the current conflict. That night, I sat with Tyler on his bed, going through the photos together. "Is that really Mom?" he asked, pointing to a picture of Lisa laughing at our college graduation. "That's really her," I confirmed. "She was beautiful, wasn't she? She looks happy." "She was very happy, especially when she found out she was going to have you." Tyler studied each photo carefully, asking questions about the people and places, creating stories about moments he'd never experienced, but that were part of his history nonetheless. "Dad, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa anymore?" The question I'd been dreading. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that his grandparents were stealing from his future? That they saw him as less important than his cousins? That they'd been manipulating his father for years? Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other people. Even when they're family, I had to make some hard decisions to protect us, to make sure you have everything you need. Tyler nodded solemnly, processing this with the serious consideration he brought to everything. "Will I see the twins again?" "I don't know, buddy. Maybe someday when everyone's had time to think. But right now, we need to focus on us. On being the best family we can be. Just you and me and Aunt Jessica." He seemed satisfied with that answer. Returning his attention to the photos, I watched him absorb his history, the good memories mixed with the complicated present, and I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Not happiness exactly, but a calm certainty that I'd done the right thing, that I'd protected what mattered most. The following months settled into a new routine. Tyler thrived in his summer science program, the one Brandon had tried to guilt me into funding for the twins. Ironically, Tyler's program cost less than half what Brandon had been asking for, and Tyler actually wanted to be there. Work became more manageable. With the steady income from Twin Brothers Construction, I was able to reduce my hours slightly, spending more time with Tyler, actually being present instead of constantly stressed about money. Jessica remained a constant presence, Tyler's unofficial aunt and my voice of reason. She never once said, "I told you so," though she had every right to. Instead, she just continued being the family Tyler deserved. The family I'd always needed. One evening, as Tyler and I worked on a science project together, building a volcano for his class presentation. He looked up at me with Lisa's eyes. Dad, I'm glad it's just us. I mean, I miss having more family. But I like that you fight for me, that you make sure I'm important. Those words hit me harder than any legal victory, any financial recovery, any vindication of my choices, because they came from the person who mattered most. The person I'd fought so hard to protect. You're the most important thing in my world, I told him. And you always will be. 6 months after the confrontation, I received one final communication from my family. A Christmas card from my mother. Generic holiday wishes. No personal message. No acknowledgement of everything that had happened. But Tyler's name was included alongside mine. A small gesture, but perhaps a recognition that whatever had happened between the adults, Tyler was still her grandson. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. Maybe someday there would be room for reconciliation. Maybe Tyler would want a relationship with his grandparents. When he was old enough to understand the full story, when he could make his own choices about who deserved a place in his life. But that was for the future. For now, we had each other. We had Jessica, we had a stable home and a secure future. Most importantly, we had the truth. No more manipulation. No more taking advantage of grief and guilt. No more treating Tyler as less important than children who happened to share his DNA. Whatever happened next, whether reconciliation was possible or not, I knew I'd made the right decision. Not just in confronting the financial fraud, but in breaking the cycles of manipulation and conditional love that had defined my childhood. Tyler would grow up knowing his worth, knowing he was loved unconditionally, knowing that the adults in his life would fight for him when it mattered. And sometimes that's the best gift a parent can give, the knowledge that they are worth fighting for.